All right, so welcome in. Today we are going deep into getting things done. You know, that productivity system everyone and their mother seems to be talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Um, our amazing listeners have actually shared some excerpts from the book itself. So we're going beyond like just the buzzwords.
Right.
We're going to see if this method, does it really live up to the hype,
Yeah.
ready to unlock some stress-free productivity.
Absolutely. I think one of the most interesting things about getting things done is that it addresses a problem that I think we all face today, which is this feeling of being overwhelmed by the volume of stuff,
Yeah.
the information, the tasks that we have to juggle on a daily
I
basis.
mean, you know that feeling, right? Like you're constantly like swimming against the tide of emails and deadlines and that ever-growing to-do list.
Absolutely.
It just never ends.
It feels like you can never get on top of it. And I think that's what GTD really tries to address. It's almost like it gives you a framework or a life raft, I guess, to navigate this sea of commitments.
Okay.
It helps you capture everything that is vying for your attention,
Right.
make clear decisions about what needs to be done, and then organize it all into a system you can trust.
So it's not just about checking off tasks, right?
Right.
It's about creating this like sense of control and clarity amidst all the chaos.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like for me, one of the things that really stood out was this idea of a mind like water.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Such a great metaphor. And it's a really powerful one for what GTD aims to cultivate in terms of your mental state. So imagine you have a calm lake, perfectly still, able to reflect anything without distortion, and then you toss a pebble in,
Okay.
there's a ripple, there's a response,
Yeah.
but then it returns to that stillness.
Uh-huh.
That's what GTD helps you achieve with your mind.
Right.
That ability to engage with tasks without being overwhelmed by them.
So how do we get there? Is it as simple as just like writing everything down?
Capturing is crucial, yes. It's about getting all those to-dos and ideas, those nagging thoughts out of your head and into a trusted system.
Okay.
Whether that's a notebook, an app, or, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
But it's not just about like randomly dumping information into a system. It's about making conscious decisions about what those inputs mean.
Right.
What needs to be done with them.
Okay, so that's where the 5 steps of the GTD workflow come in.
Exactly.
Capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage.
That's it.
It sounds very comprehensive, but I'm curious, like, how does this play out like in real life?
So think of it as a cycle.
Okay.
You capture everything that has your attention.
Okay.
Then you clarify what each item means and what action is required.
Right.
And from there, you organize those actions into a system that allows you to review and engage with them effectively.
Okay.
And then the cycle repeats.
So let's like break this down a bit further. Like when we talk about clarifying an item, what does that actually mean?
So it's about asking yourself 2 questions, really. What is this? And is it actionable?
Okay.
And if it is actionable, then you determine the very next physical action you need to take to move it forward.
Gotcha.
So not just plan the vacation, but like research destinations online.
Right.
And that is really key because it turns this kind of vague intention into something concrete you can actually do.
Right. And this is where that famous 2-minute rule comes in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, if an action is going to take you less than 2 minutes, do it right then and there.
Just do it.
Just get it done. And this is so deceptively simple, but can really increase your productivity.
Yeah.
Because you're clearing out all those little tasks that can just kind of clutter your mind and your to-do list.
Right. Like cleaning off your mental desktop before you start working on a big project.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we're capturing everything, clarifying what it means,
Right.
and then we're either taking action immediately or organizing it into a system to revisit later.
Right.
But with all this capturing and organizing, how do we make sure we're not just creating like a giant to-do list monster that we can never slay?
Well, that's where the reflect step becomes super important.
Okay.
And particularly through the weekly review.
Gotcha.
So it's like taking a step back from that daily grind to really assess your progress, clear your mental inbox, and make sure your system is still serving you.
See, I will admit the weekly review is something I've struggled with in the past.
I think a lot of people do.
It just feels like setting aside a big chunk of time just to review things.
Yeah.
Why is it so important?
Think about how you prepare for a vacation. You tie up those loose ends.
Yeah.
You clear your desk. You make sure everything is in order.
Uh-huh.
So you can really relax and enjoy your time off.
Right.
The weekly review brings that same sense of clarity and readiness to your everyday life.
So it's not just about staying organized. It's also about creating like a sense of peace of mind, knowing that you have a system
Exactly. Yeah.
that you can rely on.
It helps you avoid those, oh shoot, I forgot about that moments.
Yeah.
Allows you to really engage with your work and your life without constantly feeling like something is slipping through the cracks.
Now, I am curious, does GTD have any basis in, like, cognitive science? It
Yeah.
just seems like, I don't know, maybe too simple to be effective?
It's not just a feel-good system. There's actually research to back up its effectiveness.
Okay.
And it aligns really well with concepts like distributed cognition,
Okay.
which basically means using external tools to support our thinking.
Okay, so it's like recognizing that our brains aren't designed to hold on to every little detail,
Right.
that we need systems to help us manage, the complexity of modern life.
Absolutely. And by getting things out of our heads and into a trusted system, we free up so much mental bandwidth for more strategic thinking and creative problem solving.
Fascinating. So we've uncovered the core problem that GTD tackles, that feeling of being overwhelmed. We've touched on some key principles like that, mind like water, and the 5 steps of the workflow.
Yep.
We even peeked into the power of the 2-minute rule and the importance of the weekly review.
We
I
did.
feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, we are. GTD is so much more than just a set of tips and tricks.
Okay,
It's really a comprehensive system with different levels of mastery.
right.
You can start with basic workflow management, but eventually you can use it to manage your whole life.
Wow.
Even tap into your creative potential.
Okay, we've piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
Let's dive into those nitty-gritty details of implementing GTD.
Okay.
Where do we even begin?
So let's start with the practical aspects of setting up your GTD system.
Okay.
It's not as daunting as it might seem. It's really like building your own personalized productivity command center.
Okay.
It's about creating a space, whether that's physical or digital, where you can collect, process, and organize all of your commitments.
So it's not about being like tied to a specific app or notebook. It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people, they thrive with like physical in trays and notebooks.
Yeah.
Others, they prefer digital tools,
Right, right.
It's whatever. It's whatever works. But the key is to have that designated space where you can gather absolutely everything. Emails, meeting notes, random ideas that pop into your head, like everything.
Just get it all out there.
Get it all out.
Okay, so let's say I've got my workspace, my in tray, it's set up. Now what? How do I actually tackle this mountain of stuff?
So this is where the processing part of the GTD workflow comes in.
Okay.
You go through each item in your in tray and you ask yourself those key GTD questions.
Right.
What is it?
Yeah.
Is it actionable? And if it is actionable, you determine that next physical action that is needed to move it forward.
And we talked about the importance of clearly defining those next actions. Right?
Absolutely.
No more of those vague, think about Project X kind of thing.
Exactly. Call Sarah to schedule a meeting. Much more actionable than follow up with Sarah.
Right, yeah.
So once you've determined that next action, you decide, can I do it in 2 minutes? If so, do it now. If not, can I delegate it? If not, you defer it
Okay.
to your system for later action.
Okay, so this is where we start creating those, famous GTD lists.
Exactly. So you create lists for different categories of actions.
Okay.
Calls, errands, things to do at your computer, agendas for meetings, you name it.
And don't forget that waiting for list.
Oh, the waiting for list. Yes.
For anything you've delegated or waiting on from someone
It's
else.
essential.
Oh, it's such a relief to know those items are being tracked.
Yeah.
And I don't have to rely on my memory or hope that someone will, follow through.
It's out of your head. It's in the system. You can let it go.
Okay.
Now, what about the items that are not actionable, but you still need to keep them?
Right.
That's where your reference system comes in.
Okay.
So this is your personal library of information, well organized and easily accessible. This could be physical files, digital folders, Evernote,
Whatever, yeah.
whatever works for you.
So it's all about creating that system that allows you to, easily store and retrieve information when you need it,
Right.
which also helps clear mental clutter too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, just knowing you have a designated place for everything.
Yeah.
The book also talks about this concept of someday maybe.
Oh, someday maybe, yeah.
Those ideas and projects that are not actionable right now,
Right.
but you want to keep them on your radar.
Wow.
It could be learning a new skill, planning a trip, finally writing that novel you've always dreamed of.
Right.
Yeah.
Someday waits. A way to acknowledge those aspirations without letting them overwhelm your current to-do list.
Exactly.
You give yourself permission to park them for now, knowing that you will revisit them later.
Exactly. And this is where a tickler file can be really
A
helpful.
tickler file, okay.
So this is basically a system for reminding yourself about things in the future. You could use a physical file system, set reminders in your calendar app, or even use a wall calendar with envelopes taped to each date.
Whatever works.
Whatever works, right?
The key is to have a system that you trust so you can let go of those someday thoughts and, free up that mental space for what you need to focus on now.
Right. Now, speaking of freeing up mental space, let's talk about projects. GTD emphasizes that you can't actually do a project. You can only do the actions related to it.
Okay.
So having a clear project list is essential.
So it's kind of like an inventory of all the outcomes that you're committed to achieving, whether it's planning a vacation or launching a new product or even just organizing your closet.
Exactly. And just like with individual actions, it's crucial to define that next action for each project. So what's the very next step you need to take to move this project forward?
And I'm sensing a theme here. This is where that regular reflection, that weekly review, comes back into play, right?
Absolutely.
To make sure your projects are aligned with your goals and you're consistently taking those next actions.
The weekly review is your opportunity to step back and look at your whole system. Are any ball dropping? Have any new projects emerged? Are you still on track to achieve those bigger goals and outcomes that you've defined for yourself?
It's like having a weekly check-in with your productivity coach, making sure you're staying focused and moving in the right direction. But we've captured, we've clarified, we've organized, we've reflected. What about actually getting things done?
Ah, yes.
How do we choose what to focus on in the moment?
So that's where the final step of the GTD workflow comes in. Engage. This is where all of that upfront work really pays off.
Okay.
Because by having this clear and current system, you can trust your intuition
Yeah.
to make the best decision about what to do next.
So it's not just about blindly following a set of rules. It's about using your judgment and making, informed choices based on what's most important right now.
Exactly. The book talks about 3 key factors to consider when making action choices.
Okay.
Context, time available, and energy available.
So context would be things like, am I at my computer? Do I have my phone with me? Am I near a store where I can run that errand?
Exactly.
Time available is pretty straightforward. Like if I only have 15 minutes before my next meeting, probably don't want to start a task that's going to take an hour.
Right. And or there's energy available.
Yeah, some days we're firing on all cylinders. Other days we can barely keep our eyes open.
Right. Some days you're ready to tackle those complex projects.
Right.
Other days you just need to kind of clear your inbox and do some filing.
Exactly. And that's why it's helpful to have a variety of tasks on your lists, right?
Yeah.
So you can choose something challenging when you're feeling energized and something more routine or low-key when you need a break. This is making a lot of sense. So by making this conscious choices about what to do and what not to do, you gain that sense of control and empowerment. You're no longer a slave to your inbox or your to-do list. You're the captain of your own productivity ship.
Exactly. And that brings us to the higher levels of GTD mastery.
Okay.
Moving beyond just managing your day-to-day tasks to really integrating this methodology into your life and leveraging it for greater creative expression.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Capturing, clarifying, organizing, reflecting, and engaging. It's all starting to click, But you mentioned GTD goes beyond just managing tasks.
Right.
What does that next level even look like?
It's like you've mastered the basics of driving. You can handle the car in traffic.
Okay.
But now it's time to decide where you want to go. GTD can be a roadmap, not just for getting things done, but for designing a life that's actually fulfilling.
So we're shifting gears from efficiency to intentionality.
Yeah.
How do we make that happen?
So Getting Things Done talks about this 6-level model for reviewing your work. It starts with those ground-level actions, then moves up to your current projects, your areas of focus and accountability, your 1 to 2 year goals, your long-term visions, and finally, your overall purpose and principles.
Okay, that's quite the hierarchy. Where do we even begin with something like that?
It can feel overwhelming, so the book recommends starting from the bottom up. Once you have those daily actions under control, you can start looking at your projects. Are they the right projects? Do they align with those higher level goals?
So it's about making sure everything we're doing on a daily basis is actually contributing to the bigger picture.
Exactly. And then you move up to those broader horizons, your areas of focus, your roles and responsibilities. Are they still relevant? Are they serving those bigger goals?
And then the big question, purpose.
Yes.
Why are we doing any of this in the first place?
Exactly.
What are our core values? What kind of impact do we want to make?
This is where things can get really interesting because when you can connect your daily actions to a bigger purpose, it infuses your work with so much meaning and motivation.
It's like finding that North Star that guides all your decisions and actions.
Exactly. And that's where GTD becomes more than just a productivity system. It becomes a tool for self-discovery and creative expression. By clearing the mental clutter and creating space for reflection, you open yourself up to new possibilities.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from feeling overwhelmed by the daily grind to envisioning a life where our actions are aligned with our deepest values.
It's amazing what a little bit of clarity can do.
And we've only just scratched the surface, right?
We have. Getting things done is packed with so many more practical tips and techniques for implementing GTD effectively.
So for our listeners who are ready to take that next step, what's one thing they can do right now to start applying GTD in their own lives?
Ask yourself this question. What one area of my life could benefit most from applying GTD? Maybe it's your work, your personal life, your creative projects, whatever feels most pressing. Identify that area and start by capturing everything that's on your mind related to it.
That's a great starting point. And from there, remember those 5 steps. Offer, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. Take it one step at a time, and you'll be amazed at the difference it can make.
It's about progress, not perfection.
I like that.
And remember, GTD is a journey, not a destination.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into getting things done. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to take control of your life and achieve stress-free productivity.